بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة بوجهه الكريم. Inshallah, we're going to continue, excuse me, and a brief discussion, because I don't want to go in details about this at this stage, but I do want to clarify, just to make sure all of us should know these matters already, but some of us may not. So I just want to clarify the position of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And let me ask you a question. When I say Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, in Aqidah, what do I mean? Let's make sure we're all on the same page. Terms are very important. I don't want no misunderstanding, no confusion, no ambiguity. When I mean Muhammad, when I say Ahl Sunnah, what do I mean? Now I'm struggling with your name. Brichet? Brichet. Kyler. Maybe Brichet. If I screwed it up, please forgive me. Yes, Ash'ari, Maturidi. Okay, good. Abu Isa al-Ash'ariya and al-Maturidiyya. So whenever I use the term Ahl Sunnah, whenever I use the term Ahl Sunnah, when it's talking about the creed, I'm referring to al-Ash'ariya and or al-Maturidiyya. I don't mean anything else by that. If I'm talking about someone else who is similar to Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, I'll mention it explicitly. I'll never say Ahl Sunnah and I'm referring to something else. I won't do it. Even if someone else wants me to, I won't. Right? If I'm going to mention some others who are similar to Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, who are Ahl Sunnah but are not known as Ahl Sunnah, I'll mention them specifically. While I'm making this point, why am I emphasizing this? Because there are people who have the correct creed of Ahl Sunnah in some aspects, And then in some aspects, they disagree with Ahl Sunnah. So in general, you can count them as Ahl Sunnah. You can, in general, right? But in specific, they are not Ahl Sunnah. And they hold sometimes creeds that contradict Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, meaning the Ash'ira and Maturidiyah. So and who preceded me in such a statement? Because this is not something I made up. So what scholars that we know, that we mentioned and we showed, said that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah are Al-Ash'ariyah and Al-Maturidiyah? Who among the scholars that we mentioned, and there are many, but who did we mention that you should know, said that these are Ahl Sunnah? I want us to understand. I don't want to just talk to us and lecture us and we don't understand anything we're talking about. Right, Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi. Who else? So this is true, Isa. Barakallahu bikum. Who else? Who else? Besides Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi, I mentioned another famous, you should know. We read it so many times. Who else said that? Imam al-Haddad, Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad. Sufficient. As well-known righteous scholars, Imam Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi, that great Hafiz and Arabic linguist and commentator on the Ihyaa of Ihyaa Ulumuddin, and Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad, they mentioned that explicitly in their books. Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi mentioned it in which book? Which book, Isa? Which book did Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi mention that Ahl Sunnah are the Ash'aris and the Maturidis? Which book? Come on, y'all, help me out. Everybody wants to be Sufi. Sufi starts with study. The commentary of the Ihyaa. Okay, that's slick. What's the name of the commentary on the Ihyaa? So that's right, the commentary on the Ihyaa. What is the name of that commentary? Not the ladder to success. So the book by Muhammad Murtada al-Zabidi is the commentary on the Ihyaa, Sharh al-Ihyaa Ulumuddin. What is the name of it? Where's Sheikh Abdul Aziz when you need him? Mr. Corrector. Right. Sleeping. What a Sufi, right? I wrote it in another notebook, and the dog ate that notebook, right? No, I'm messing with you. Come on, it's a lot of us. Come on. There you go, Farouk. Look, Farouk's showing you up, boy. He just don't know how to wear suits. He know how to know names of books. He know how to copy and paste. He's the man. Because I know daggone well you ain't typed that up. That's too pretty. That is too pretty. I know that was a cut and paste job, but it's true, right? Look how pretty that is. It got dots. It got bars over letters. Yeah, right. But he got the job done. Touchdown, game-winning shot, Farouk. You're the man. You are the new student genius. You got Imam genius and student genius. Farouk Thomas, Student Genius. That's his new title. You are nice. You the man. It's half as-Sadatul Muttaqeen, right? Good. So everyone memorize that. But the only problem, let me see how nice you are, Farouk. There is a mistake. And where is the mistake? And if Abdul Aziz was here, he would give it to you for this mistake. Where's the mistake? It's sidebar. And there's a mistake. Your bar, one of the bars is in the wrong place. And I get crucified for that mistake all the time. But that's your homework, Farouk. You got to figure out where the mistake is there in the pronunciation in the title. All right, but that's perfect. That's good enough for us. So that is for that. And Imam al-Haddad mentioned it in what book? Farouk is Shafi'i, Abu Muhammad. He be fronting. He ain't really a Maliki. He just want to be friends with y'all. Never mind, Farouk. Forget about it. Don't try no more. I'm trying to give you credit. The Book of Assistance. Good. I love you guys, man. MashaAllah. Good. So that's not something Imam Amin made up. We have our scholars, great father of this nation, who said that Ahl Sunnah are the Asha'ira and Maturidiyya. That's not Amin Muhammad that made that up. Tell you. So back to the point after that curve. We read point number 4. Was that point number 4? Yes. You want to read that again? Read it, inshallah. Let's recite Al-Fatiha to the soul of Imam al-Ghazali, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Al-Fatiha. Yes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, so you just want me to read it the way it is from the book?
You can read it the way it is from the book first, and let me see the second thing.
The fourth principle is to know that Allah Ta'ala, exalted as He, is established on the throne in the way He says and following the meaning which He intends. Established in a manner transcending contact, settledness, fixivity, indwelling, or movement. The throne does not bear Him up, but is borne up by the subtlety of His infinite power.
Okay.
And so my attempt to write down what you said yesterday. The fourth principle is to know that Allah Ta'ala, exalted as He, is attributed with istiwa in relation to the throne. Mm-hmm. The meaning of istiwa is as Allah Ta'ala intended by al-istiwa. This istiwa does not negate Allah Ta'ala being attributed with greatness and magnitude, and the attributes of createdness and ending are not related to this istiwa.
Excellent. Even with my bad translation. That's great. MashaAllah. Very clear. All right. So the term here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an attribute called al-istiwa, right? And the attributes of Allah from the side of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah are without a beginning and they don't change. These are some important things. So this attribute, al-istiwa, right? I want everyone to write this stuff down. Don't just listen, get your notebook and your paper or your tablet and write it down. Unfortunately, I got to buy a new computer because this, I'll put it in Arabic, but man, I got to go through so much to write Arabic with my computer. You heard that, wife? I need a new computer. No, I need a new computer.
Where's your new computer?
I got to have, this is it, but I need a computer that types in Arabic.
Oh, you need a keyboard.
Yeah, I need it's not a keyboard, but the computer got it already in. Because this is old fashioned, like a dinosaur, trying to type like this.
That sounds like a movie.
Why they consider? Okay, good. All right. So I put it in Arabic for those that need it, so you understand, right? So Allah is attributed with the attribute of al-istiwa. Follow me here, this very important lesson, especially for those who have been afflicted with others talking about the Asha'ira and Maturidiyya and don't know about them from them. Someone else telling you about them. Listen so you understand. So Imam al-Ghazali, he said that the fourth principle is the knowledge that Allah has this attribute, and he used al-istiwa mustawin ala al-arshihi. He made istiwa, or he has this attribute of istiwa in relation to al-arsh, right? By the meaning that he intended by al-istiwa. This is Imam Ghazali speaking. So he's affirming the attribute of istiwa, and he's leaving the meaning of istiwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do y'all follow that? Where does he get this from? It's from the Quran. In surah number 20, verse number 5. Why is Imam al-Ghazali making this statement? Because it's in the Quran. In that verse, surah number 20, verse number 5, Allah says, Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. Right? So in that verse, Allah mentions the attribute of al-istiwa. Right? Ar-Rahmanu ala al-arsh istawa. The word istawa, it is talking about this attribute, al-istiwa, right? That word, that attribute, is an affirmed attribute of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. All of Ahl Sunnah, Ash'ari or Maturidi, and for that matter, anyone who says he's a Muslim, even if they're not Ahl Sunnah, agree that this is a verse of the Quran. Whoever denies that that is a verse of the Quran is a kafir, non-believer, non-Muslim, blasphemer. Do you understand that? Anyone who says that Surah number 20, verse number 5, Ar-Rahmanu alal arsh istawa, compliments of our student genius. Got to give him his credit. Anyone who says that's not a verse of the Quran is a blasphemer. They're not a Muslim at all. So no one who claims to be Muslim is going to deny that that's a verse of the Quran. Are we clear on that? No matter what kind of Muslim they are, even if they're Ahl Sunnah or from Ahl Bid'ah, but they didn't reach the level of kufr. They are misguided, but they're not non-Muslims. There are people like that, right? If anyone denies that verse, says that's not a verse of the Quran, that's kufr. Does everyone understand that? Are we clear in that issue? No one is confused about that, right? Good. So that's not the subject of our discussion. Is that a verse of the Quran, and did Allah reveal that? That's not the subject of the discussion. So what is the subject of discussion? So Imam al-Ghazali, why he's mentioning that is because of that verse, right? And other verses like it. There are more than one verse similar that have that meaning of istiwa, al-istiwa. So al-istiwa is established, right? It's clear from the Quran. Now, Imam Ghazali, since that is the case, he affirms it, that you must believe that Allah is attributed with istiwa. And then he goes on, he said, after stating that, and they translate mustawin ala arshihi to mean established, which I don't agree with that translation at all. But nevertheless, I need you to get what is being understood, because the one who translated has the correct belief. He just used words that I prefer, that I wished, I think he could find better words to use. Took more energy, took more effort, but in the context which we're dealing with is important to understand, right? Regardless of his personal belief as a translator. But what it leads to others, especially in the climate we have, is dangerous. And that's why I don't agree with the translation. Is that clear? I'm not talking about the belief of the translator, and nor the belief of Imam Ghazali. We're talking about a translation that could be better. It could be more explanatory. Sometimes you just can't literally translate. It opens up the door for too much. Sometimes you need to explain what you mean. Right? But who am I? He's a better translator than me. So he could say, well, why don't you just do it? How about I just fix what you made a mistake on? I'm joking, right? No. But may Allah reward. Translating is not an easy job. It's not easy at all. You have to have command of both Arabic and English, and meanings and context. You have to be a super dude to do translations, to do them good. Loose translations, easy, and then write all that, that's not easy. So don't think that's an easy job. It's not. Even if you know Arabic and even if you know English, that don't mean you're going to be a good translator. It's a very difficult job. Right? All right. With that being said, then Imam Ghazali follows that by saying, with the meaning that Allah intended by al-istiwa, this second So you have the first line that he is having istiwa in relation to al-arsh, right? In this translation, even that I'm not happy with. It's very hard to express this stuff. But I want to keep istiwa so you have that attribute in your mind in Arabic. And it makes, so you affirm it. So Imam Ghazali affirms it based on the verse, right? Then he does what is called a tafweed. A tafweed is he leaves the true meaning of istiwa to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says, by the meaning that Allah intended by al-istiwa. So not istiwa that you think, which means settled, which means established. La, that's not what is intended. And that's why he says, by the meaning of istiwa that Allah intended by istiwa. Right? That's called a tafweed. Right? So it's three things happening here, and I need you to follow them. So he said it's an istiwa that doesn't negate his kibriya, his greatness, his magnitude. And it doesn't entail attributes of al-huduth wal-fana, of attributes of being created, being a created event, or ceasing to exist, right? So by the last part, what does he do? He negates non-befitting attributes to Allah. And all attributes of al-huduth, contingent attributes, are negated about Allah. That's Imam al-Ghazali's approach. Is this clear? Are there any questions? Just understanding the approach of Imam al-Ghazali, who was Ash'ari, and it will show you the approach of the Ash'ari. And there is no ta'wil here. There is no ta'wil. It's only tafweed, and he shows you how tafweed works. Are y'all following this? So it's 3 steps how Imam al-Ghazali approaches this, and it's right in that one sentence. The first approach, establish the attributes of Allah that are mentioned in the Quran. Al-istiwa is mentioned. He established that Allah is attributed with istiwa, no doubt. The second is to leave the meaning, the real meaning, to Allah. So what does he say? By the meaning Allah intended by al-istiwa, right? And then negate any non-befitting attribute or meaning that is attributed to istiwa. He negates that, right? By saying none of these entail characteristics of contingent beings or events or annihilation, right? None of that is, these are non-befitting attributes. Which, if we wanted to take that from the Quran, that is laysa kamithlihi shay, Surah 42, verse 11. And so is the case with all of the attributes. This is very simple. I hope it's clear to you. That is the foundational belief of the Ash'ari and the Maturidiyya. And that is the safest approach for any Muslim. It's very clear, very explicit, straight to the point. What 2 terms? Al-istiwa is the attribute. So I gave you several terms. Let's do this. Forget the Arabic for right now, so you don't get confused, right? So there's going to be 3 steps. Someone who's a good typer, speed typer, type this because I'm slow. If I type and talk, it's going to make it longer. The first is affirming the attribute. That's the first step. Second step, leaving the meaning to Allah, leaving the real meaning to Allah. Third step, negating non-befitting attributes. Three steps. First step, affirm the attribute. Second step, leave the meaning, the true meaning, to Allah. Third step, negate any non-befitting attribute. That's the three steps. So the first one is you affirm the attribute. So he mentioned it. Allah has the attribute of istiwa, right? He affirmed that. It's mentioned in the Quran, right? Secondly, the real meaning of istiwa is known to Allah. So that's called at-tafweed. So the first one is al-ithbat, establishing, affirming the attribute. The second is at-tafweed. And the third is negation, right? And nafi, right? Negating attributes that are non-befitting. Nafyu naqa'is, right? Negating non-befitting attributes. That's it. That's Ahl Sunnah. There is no ta'wil. So as I was mentioning yesterday, someone saying that we changed, no one changed attributes. That's the basis of Ahl Sunnah. So that's one aspect. There's no ta'wil. There's affirmation, there's resigning the meaning, and then there's negating non-befitting attributes. And all that is Quran. Ar-Rahmanu ala arsh istawa. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Laysa kamithlihi shay. It's Quran. Affirmation, resigning the meaning to Allah, negating non-befitting attributes. It's the Quran. That's Islam. So to say that the Ash'aris deny attributes is a lie. They just affirm the attribute. So that's not true. They affirm the attribute. And they leave the meaning to Allah. What does that mean? That means they don't give meanings from themselves, especially when those meanings are not befitting of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and according to the verse, Laysa kamithlihi shay. Is this clear for everyone? That's what I need you to get before I go into any details. If you don't got that, then the details are just going to confuse you more. And no one's in the business of confusing people. I need you to understand. Is this totally clear? Is there any questions? If it's any questions about this that you don't understand, please ask. If you understand this, you should be able to repeat it. So if you cannot repeat it, that means you don't understand well. Right? And I gave it in relation to al-istiwa. It's clear for everyone. Don't be shy. Okay. Now, let me give you the opposite, which is wrong, but so you can see it clearly. The Wahhabi approach to this is totally opposite of that. The Wahhabi approach at the first level is the same, affirmation of the attribute. They agree with that Allah is attributed with istiwa. At the second level, they disagree. They say, no, the meaning that is istiwa is the literal meaning that is known to creation. But we don't know the how of that literal meaning. That's the second stage. The third stage, they agree in wording, but not in meaning. They say we negate non-befitting attributes, right? But there is a resemblance. We just don't know how. You see the difference? It's a complete different belief. That is the belief of Al-Wahhabiyya. And that's why they disagree with the Ash'aris. You have both of them. I gave you both concepts so you can see them clearly right in front of you. This is the belief of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and this is what Al-Wahhabiyya say, which differs from Ahl Sunnah. So at the first level, we agree Allah is attributed with al-istiwa. At the second level, we disagree. Ahl-Sunnah say the meaning, its real meaning is known to Allah. Al-Wahhabiyya says no, the real meaning is what we know. However, how Allah does it, we don't know. On the second level, Ahl-Sunnah says there is no how, and that is negated about Allah and his attributes. So at the second level, there's a big difference. On the third level, there is a big difference, but it's very fine. Ahl-Sunnah negate al-naqa'is. Al-Wahhabiyya, they say we negate al-naqa'is, non-befitting attributes, but there is a type of resemblance, but we just don't know the reality of that resemblance. And Ahl-Sunnah disagree with that. And this is what we studied when we studied the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, when we studied the Panmarian Creed. That third level is not true negation of non-befitting attributes. It's a verbal negation, but in reality, there is some resemblance, according to them. And this is false and rejected by Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Is those 3 points clear? Is that clear? I mean, this is, I don't know how easy I can make this. This is like simple, 1, 2, 3, right? Any questions? And if you don't realize this, you haven't read Wahhabi books or Ash'ari or Maturidi books, or you haven't studied. If you don't realize that this is the case, you haven't studied. It's clear in their books. It's not something I'm making up. I could just show you the books and go in details, but if you don't understand the point, then the details are going to confuse you. This is clear. That's why we differ. If we bring it down to its very fine point, that's why we differ. There's your difference. And it's a legitimate difference. We're not saying the same thing. Any questions? Now, I can detail this from the side of Ahl Sunnah, but I want to make sure the foundational point is understood, that no one misunderstands. Go ahead, shoot your question. Go ahead. If you had a question, go ahead. Take your time. But here's the point. Once you got this, when I expand, you won't get lost. Because I understand most of us, right? And it's our, it's fine. Most of us don't understand Arabic enough to follow all these Arabic terms, so we get confused. That's why it has to be in English. I don't have to impress you. Just say the same thing in English. Right? It's not like what's necessary to say in Arabic, just so you follow the discussion, we say it. What's not necessary, we leave it in English. Right? Most of us will never speak Arabic. Our context don't even allow for it. We might learn Arabic to read some Quran, read some Hadith, but Arabic language in most of our reality is not going to happen. We live in America. This is the language we speak, English. So we have to just convey meanings. And we will learn, inshallah, as we learn. But most of us are not going to be Arabic speakers. That's not going to happen. Not in our lifetime. We just be real. We don't even have the time or the context for that. So we just need enough Arabic to get the point, to have a sound belief. No one is trying to impress each other. We're not interested. We're trying to learn. And I think that sometimes that's the biggest problem. Many people sit in classes and the teacher is rattling off in Arabic and they don't have the point to stop the teacher. I have no idea what you're talking about. They're just going to go on and on and on and then be like, yeah, I got it. And you know that going well, you don't got it. You didn't even understand 50% of what he said. But you're sitting there and wonder why you don't understand. Because he's speaking in a language you don't understand. And you didn't stop him and say, oh, that's all sound nice. Could you please tell me what all that stuff means? We're funny. Can you explain why scholars saw a necessity to articulate the differences? Obvious, because the differences lead to differences in belief, and a belief that is valid and a belief that is not valid, right? So if one belief, one difference led to attributing to Allah non-befitting attributes, then it needs to be explained. And it needs to be clarified so you don't attribute to Allah non-befitting things and thereby be in a state of misguidance, or worse than that, a state of disbelief. Because some differences are just differences that lead to misguidance. They're wrong, but they didn't reach the level of disbelief. And then there are some differences that reach the level of disbelief. So it is the job of the scholars to bring the people away from misguidance, or worse than that, disbelief. And that's why differences need to be explained and articulated, so you don't fall into it. The one who does not know evil will fall into it. So you have to learn what is wrong so you don't fall into it. And hence, that's why the scholars told you what is right and what is wrong, both, so you don't fall into it. And our problem is we remain silent, so people are falling into the wrong thing because we don't want to differ. I know we want to learn the truth, but if you remain silent, most people are going to fall into something wrong because of the environment and the bad beliefs that have spread in the name of Islam. So if you don't clarify it, people are going to be mistaken. They're going to make, and it's an honest mistake. They don't know. And if someone doesn't tell them, and that's all they're told, they're going to think that's Islam, right? Let's go back, right? From our context that we can easily identify. When some of us were Christians, right, we were told that Jesus was the white man with blue eyes, long brown hair, and he's on a cross. That's what we were told. Our grandmoms were like that, grandpops, they had these pictures in the house, and we came up and we believed that, right? Until knowledge came to us, he'd be like, hey, that's a lie. First of all, he was in Palestine areas, Sham areas. Ain't no white Europeans were in Palestine. And he could, like all the stuff, we start to realize like, nah, that wasn't Jesus. That white man on that cross is not Jesus. Let alone going into the part of the crucifixion, that's more. But I'm talking about in general, we know Jesus wasn't a blind-eyed, long-haired white boy. We know that. That's not true. But that's what was passed to us, right? I'll give you another example of that. Even more close. We came up as kids believing in Santa Claus. And the whole story, Santa Claus gonna come with reindeers and they're gonna go in, he gonna come in your chimney and drop off your toys, right? Right? I remember, and you better go to sleep because you better put some cookies out for Santa to eat the cookies and that nonsense. I remember as a kid, I used to believe that as a little kid, because that's what we was told. That was on the TV in the 70s. That was what was on the TV. Christmas show at night, the reindeers, and you better be naughty, not nice, or however say go. I remember those things. You do when you was a kid. Now Christmas is just business. But when we were kids and before that, Christmas was a big thing, right? The tree, all that was a family activity, right? And I remember one day, I don't know how old I was. I know I was close to 8, 9, somewhere around there. And I thought about it. I said, wait a minute, I live in the projects. We don't have no chimney. We don't have no fireplace. There's no way Santa Claus can get in here unless he come through the window or the front door. I remember this vividly. I was so disappointed. I was like, that's a lie, right? I never thought about it, though. But somewhere at that age, it caught me. I said, we don't even got a chimney or a fireplace. Oh, my goodness. And then the whole Santa Claus thing and Christmas was like, for me after that, I was totally disappointed. And with my little brain, now I want to do research. Who's bringing these toys? Because we used to get a beating if we wasn't asleep on Christmas Eve. You know how the kid try to stay up? We got a whooping for doing that. You better go to bed so Santa Claus can come. Man, that's cruel. We used to actually get a whooping if you didn't go to sleep, and you might not get no toys. You better go to bed. You're cruel, man. So I remember one Christmas, my house was on the expressway. It used to be the projects. Now when you come to Atlantic City, it's just malls. That used to be my project where I grew up. So my house, my apartment building was right on the expressway. So where you come in, there was a little entrance where you can come off the expressway and come inside the projects. So I was looking out the window, maybe like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm sneaking. I'm like, ain't no Santa Claus. Who's bringing these toys, right? And sure enough, I'm looking out the window. My brothers and them, everybody's sleeping, and my nosy butt is in the window. Like, ain't no Santa Claus, right? And sure enough, my mom and dad pull up in the car. They unloading the toys, bringing them in. And I'm just heartbroken. Ain't no Santa Claus. It's mom and dad. Oh my goodness. I remember this stuff vividly. That's how we are with Wahhabi doctrine. Seriously. That's how a lot of us are going to be when we discover and we learn the Wahhabi doctrine is false. We're going to be just like I was when I was a kid with Santa Claus. Seriously. This fantasy island stuff we got about God, that's how we're going to feel. When we learn, when we start reading and investigating and discovering, like, oh man, we've been played again. We've been played again, right? I'm telling you, I get that feeling right now with racist Sunnis who are Ahl Sunnah but are racist, and how they deceive blacks so blacks can follow them. I feel the same way. So I understand, like, it is ugly to be deceived. That is a hurting feeling. I'm talking about Arabs, Pakistanis, sometimes, who have come in our communities, took over, and didn't give us all the facts, and subjugated us. That's a hurting feeling when you learn and be like, wait a minute. Number one, y'all been hiding stuff. Y'all been giving us piecemeal so y'all can control us. That's a hurting feeling. That's a hurting feeling. So it's the same feeling. And that's why one of the reasons when you hear me go off on the racism stuff, because I've seen it and I can articulate it and I can identify it. It makes me angry because it reminds me of that childhood trauma with Santa Claus. Really. And when I say that, I don't be thinking about Santa Claus, but I'm saying that betrayal of someone lying to you and telling you false stuff intentionally and know they're lying, that bothers me to the core. I mean, it's part of life, but it bothers me to the core. It bothers me to the core. Right? You know what you're doing. You know you're being racist. And then you would tell us, oh, no, I'm not being racist. You know what you're doing. You're not stupid. You know this is racist practice and subjugation. You know it. It's not like you don't know what you're doing. But you think we're stupid. This is blacks. They don't know no better. And unfortunately, too many of us are stupid and don't know no better. So we go for the same old okie doke over and over and over again. They could run the same play and we never catch it. Same play, same play. Yeah, Farouk, you're right. It's time we be searchers of truth. We have to. So we're not in that. All right, I got to bring this to a close. No, Miss Joanne, you ain't the only one. No, 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 no. Oh, no, you're not the only one. Oh, you should go back in the past. And it ain't stopped. You know why it doesn't stop? The same reason white supremacy doesn't stop. Because they're comfortable in our ignorance. That's why racism doesn't stop. The racist people have become comfortable with our ignorance, and so have we, unfortunately. So if you want to remain ignorant, then okay, I'll give it to you. Why not? It benefits me. I benefit from your ignorance. I can come in your neighborhoods, I can build my own businesses, and I can take all my money and send it back home and leave you broke, and you accept. You'll buy from me food that I don't even eat. You'll buy from me food that I don't even eat. I'll sell you all the unhealthy crap that I don't even eat, and you'll eat it. And you'll buy it from me, and if your own people open the store, you won't buy it from them. Well, why not? I'll give you inferior religion. I'll subjugate you. I'll teach you half truths so you can follow me. Your own can give you scholarly stuff. You accept it from me and you'll reject it from your own. Why won't I do that to you? Why not? I benefit. Your own people could teach you at a whole nother level, but just because they're not me, you won't even listen to them. But you'll listen to me and I'll give you not even a quarter of what they're giving you. I'll deceive you. I'll cheat you. I'll subjugate you. I'll make you like a slave and you will follow. And I can use you to go against your own people. I can barely train you and send you to your own neighborhood to fight your own people for me. Why wouldn't I be racist? Except piety, and that ain't there. That's obvious, right? Only thing would prevent you from that is piety, but they ain't pious. All they got to do is speak piety to us. We see injustice right in front of us, but, that's Mr. Charlie. He can't be unjust. That's us. Not all of us, too many of us. Let me put that. Not all of us, but too many of us. Not all of us, but too many of us. Not all of us are like that, but too many of us, and that should be many, too many of us are like that. All right, let me take this last question because I'm way over time. But Miss Joanne, nah. We see it, and we address it. Just follow the Black Imams Roundtable. That's why we ain't so popular. We address it, even if it's against our own teachers. We see it, we call it. All right, let me take this last question, or maybe one more after that. Okay, I'm clear on both points. However, my only disagreement is the second point for Salafis or Wahhabis said. I can't speak for them all, but for my teachers, what I understand of the second point, how, is to apply I don't understand. You haven't understood your Wahhabi teachers. I'm telling you, you haven't. You haven't. And if you think you understood from them, they lied to you. Because if you read their books, it's clear. I'll show you. We can skip the teacher. Let's just go to the books where your teachers get from. We just skip the teacher altogether. Whoever your teachers may be, let's just skip them. And let's go to the actual books of the Wahhabi sheikhs, and I'll show you. That you misunderstood. They're very explicit in their books. They don't play no games. The real Wahhabi teachers, like Ibn Uthaymeen, Bin Baz, Al-Albani, Fawzan, they're explicit. They don't play no games. They ain't trying to stroke your ego. They in charge. They straightforward with their belief. It ain't confusing. So if your teachers didn't explain to you properly, that's them. They don't have nothing to do with those books are clear. And that's, if you follow my classes, I actually showed in their books. We read them verbatim. That's not like, nah. Your teachers are not telling you the truth. It's in the books. And maybe the fact that you don't have access to their books because of lack of Arabic, that's why they play those games. But the books are explicit. There ain't no twist in them. Those books are explicit. Explicit. Hold up. 1 second. Let me show you. Just show you so you don't think I'm just making the stuff up. Just to share with you, Habibi, so you understand. This is their books. Ibn Abi al-Iz, explanation of the type, is in the Salafi Creed, Wahhabi Creed, so-called Salafi Creed. They have Wahhabi Creed. It's in their books. That's one. Ibn Uthaymeen. I have the books. It's not something I'm talking about what your teacher said. Fawzan. Salih ibn Abdul Aziz ibn Muhammad al-Sheikh, from the family of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, from their family. No, I have the books. I'm not just talking out my neck. So when they're talking about, oh, we don't say that. Oh, yes, you do. Here's your books right here. Here's the explicit statements. I don't do that just talking out my neck. I don't do that. Because I want the truth, so we could just go research, right? No, that doesn't fly. Not at all. So if someone's twisting stuff and not telling you the truth, that's their problem. That's not abnormal when people don't want you to know the ugly stuff they say. It's in their books. I don't need to ask them. There's the books right there. Their books. Now, once you read the books and then they could try to interpret them for you, maybe you might want to go for that. And then they explain it all the way. Okay, that's good, right? But the book did say that, right? Yeah, the book said that. But what it's really meant is this. Oh, okay. So that's wrong, right? Oh, yeah, we don't mean that. Okay. So why don't you take it out the book? Why is it in the book? Why such confusion? Why you just couldn't say the right thing in the beginning without all that other stuff? Because I know what they meant. It's obvious because the result of what they meant is how we have the world that it is today. So now you reinterpreted it. Okay, that's another story. No, Arabic is more explicit. No, there's no loss in translation. No, Arabic is way more explicit. Arabic is way more explicit. Nah, it's clear. It is very clear. It's not like, listen, you hear how I express. Do you think I would express like this if I wasn't sure? I mean, you know me. I'm talking about you, right? I'm 100% sure. No doubt. No, sometimes I read their stuff and can't believe they're actually saying that. I'm like, it can't mean this. But they won't allow you to think nothing else. We do mean this. Okay. Like, you really saying that? Yes, we're really saying that. And I've met many of us who, when they really realize what they're saying, right? What they're really saying, we don't accept when we know what they're really saying. When we think they're saying something else, we may believe it. But once we really understand what they're really saying, we don't accept that. I'm talking about most of us. That stuff become like Santa Claus. Seriously, we won't accept when we realize what they're saying. But when we don't realize, then we think they're saying something else. And that's why we fight for it. That's why we stick with it, because we think they're saying something that they're not saying. And I got to stop. Reader, if you need to go, you can go ahead. But I want to help our brother because it's a public forum. So it's publicly speaking, so I want to help. Here's the thing. Let me tell you how this works. They say Allah is not like the creation. They do say that. However, they don't define clearly what is meant by creation, right? See, that's the part you don't miss it. You're missing this point. They do say Allah is not like the creation, but they don't tell you what is creation. Allah is not like his creation. Okay, what is creation? You ever asked that question? Is movement a creation? That's a question. Answer that question, brother. To you, is movement a creation? Is movement a creation? Yes or no? That's a question. Answer the question. Is movement a creation? No. All things that are created. Answer the question. Is movement a creation? That's a question. You can say, I don't know. That's fine answer. I would prefer that. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. At least we can get somewhere, right? Question. Is movement a question? A creation? That's a question. It's not a trap. It's just yes or no, or I don't know. It's three answers to that. Yes is a creation. No is not a creation. I don't know. Not a trap. Not a trick. Not a setup. Just a question. That's a question. No, can I get an answer, Habibi? It don't take that long to answer yes, no, I don't know. Come on, man. It's not a trap. It's yes, no, what you understand. I don't know what you understand, so I ask you a question. Yes, it's a creation, movement. No. What's yes? Yes. Yes, movement is a creation. Don't add that other stuff because you're fogging it. I.e., Allah exists before all things created. I didn't ask you about Allah. I asked you about movement. Is movement creation? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So if movement is a creation, next question. Can Allah be attributed with movement? If movement is a creation and you said Allah is different from the creation, then by necessity, you would have to negate movement from Allah, according to your own claim. We're just talking, right? According to your own understanding, movement is a creation. And Allah is different. He's not like his creation. So then, therefore, movement cannot be attributed to Allah, which is the belief of the Ash'aris, by the way. So I'm going to help you. The Ash'aris believe that. The Maturidis believe that. You cannot attribute movement to Allah because movement is a creation. Now I'm asking you, from your understanding, do you agree with that? It's easy, not hard, not complicated. We don't need a bunch of Arabic for this. It's simple. Yes, no, I don't know. That's it. And I accept that you are honest in saying, yes, I don't know, no. Come on, I love you. Right. Listen. But is movement of Allah like that of the creation? You just said that movement is a creation. Then you come back and ask a question And I don't believe, I know you know the answer, but you're like, oh my goodness, he's right. I'm not right. Ahl Sunnah is right. The correct Islam is right. And I just happen to believe it, right? It ain't about me. We got to use our intellect. That's why I said I'm not going to suspend my intellect for nobody, right? We're not going to do that. If you just agreed that movement is a creation, then the question, but is the movement of Allah like that of the creation, is invalid, because you said movement is a creation. So then if movement is a creation and you said Allah is not like his creation, movement can't be attributed to Allah, which is the belief of the Ash'aris and the Maturidis. And so whoever attributes movement to Allah has a wrong belief. Simple. Do you understand? Simple. From your own understanding. That's why I told you, if we use our brains, we're not going to accept the Wahhabi belief. It doesn't make sense. Only way you can believe that when you suspend your intellect. That's the only way to believe it. You're not thinking anymore. You're not using your mind. You're not, and they tell you that. Don't just take the text. Don't use your mind. That's what they tell you. Do you understand my point? I mean, you know it. You just said it. But now you realize that the false belief that was given is contradicting what you know to be real. And now you got to reconcile that. And that's the difficult part. Because you cannot say that movement is a creation and then you say Allah's movement, but at the same time say Allah is not like his creation. That doesn't make sense. You can't reconcile that. Or you can give it a shot, right? To try, because it is not sufficient just to tell you that's wrong and you don't understand why it's wrong. You don't understand why it's wrong. That's the problem. Listen, if I love you, if we love each other, we're going to be explicit. No one's attacking you. No one's attacking you. Wallahi, don't take it like that. Listen, I love this brother, so don't think it's about him. I love him with all my heart. It ain't about attacking him. He's a reflection of all of us. We're trying to learn, right? We're trying to learn. And listen, as a people, this is a brutal thing for all of us, for every single one of us. So don't think it's personal. Please never make this stuff personal. None of us are at fault. Not one of us. All of us, every single one of us, someone told us this stuff. Someone brought it to us. Someone told us this is Islam. Every single one of us. None of us are free of it. Some of us were fortunate to get the right understanding, and some of us were not. And some of us even got the right understanding and then got treated like niggas. I hate to use the strong words, so let's not get too cocky. Some of us got the right understanding of the deen, but got treated like niggas. Though we're not that, but that's how we were treated. And some of us got the right knowledge and still treated like niggas to this day. So we all got stuff to work out. Let's not get cocky. None of us. We can't afford that. Each and every one of us have to be there for the other and has to work through this nonsense. We all got to do it. We're going to get through one stage, and then we're going to become Sunni, and we're going to fight this racism, which we ain't done yet. We ain't even start. So we become Ahl Sunnah, and now we ain't fighting the racism that's within our ranks of Ahl Sunnah because we're quiet. So let's all be fair. Let's be fair, because this is a battle, right? We're going to be fighting back through Islam like we were fighting in the slave days, the house Negro and field Negro stuff. And we're Sunni, we're Ahl Sunnah, Ash'ari, following the paths of Tasawwuf, following the fiqh, and we still got to fight racism. So it ain't over. It ain't over. And then some of us cop out. Yeah, but I got the correct belief. But you're a slave. And the correct belief's supposed to make you free, not a slave. You are a slave. And that's not going to help our people. And you're a slave to other than Allah, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So I hate to deviate, but we got to be fair here. These are our brothers and sisters whom we love. And some people have made us so harsh to ourselves, and they ain't helped us one bit. And they gave us, let me tell you what I learned in the feds. You know what they did? They used to test on the inmates food that will not allow, like they used to put things in the food so you can't reproduce, so you can't have get sexual arousal. They used to put it in the food. They were testing it on the inmates so that when they sent it overseas as humanitarian food, that's what they were giving the people. So it looked like help, but they were really destroying them. So it looked like humanitarian aid, food, but really what it is to destroy them, to allow them not to reproduce. But it's given as humanitarian food. This happens. It's real stuff, right? So is this similar? They're giving us Ahl Sunnah, but only giving us a portion, indoctrinating us through Ahl Sunnah to serve their aims. And we get destroyed as Sunni. We're Sunni. The devil doesn't just work with non-belief. He works inside belief too. When are we going to address that? And that same energy we take on our brothers and sisters who've been subjugated by that Wahhabi creed, what about these foreign intruders that have used Ahl Sunnah to subjugate us? When are we going to wage war on them? Since we wage war on our other people, when are we going to wage war on them? When are we going to come together and say enough is enough? Y'all can't keep tearing our communities apart and leaving us generation and generation in ignorance and poverty while y'all get rich off our backs, while y'all build off our backs, while y'all establish leadership for your children and our children still remain jacked up. When are we going to address that, since we so hard on our Wahhabi brothers who got the same problem we got? They just got false doctrine. But the same, why they give them the false doctrine? To spread their ideas around the world. It wasn't about them. They're subjects of mass manipulation. And so are we. What's the difference? Except that we have the correct belief. Alhamdulillah, at least we won't die as kafir, or we won't die as misguided people and go to the hellfire. But that's not the intent of Islam, to make you a subject of someone. That's not what Allah desires for us. That's what Shaitan desires for us. It's the real stuff. I had to get off your for that point. So I know sometimes we want to tell the truth, but this is a bigger picture when we realize it. Man, we talking about generations of black folk. We got black folk that have been Muslim 50, 60 years and still don't understand their deen because people have been manipulating the religion. This is some deep stuff, right? We're talking about 50, 60 years. People still don't understand their deen because people have been manipulating the religion. We have a big job on our shoulders. So, Amir, I've just talked to you because me and you kicking in, and we're kicking in publicly. But don't never think that, that's not where we're at. And if we are like that, we need to fix it. That's definitely not, we're not about attacking each other. Not us. No. We are a family. And families got to work stuff out, and we talk and we relate. But no way are we're trying to harm each other. Look, we're trying to educate ourselves, right? So please never think that. I know you know that you're name about me, and that shouldn't be no one in our audience. And so we don't spend too much long on that. There's the problem, right? What you mentioned. I know it sounds to you like it makes sense, but when you think about it, it doesn't make sense, right? When you think about it. Because the problem is you don't understand what a creation is. And because you don't understand, and they didn't teach you this, what a creation is, you attribute created attributes to Allah unwittingly. You don't mean to, but you don't understand what a creation is, right? And you imagine Allah unintentionally by your experience with creation. And then you apply literal meanings to words that seem to indicate the same thing, and they don't. That's the problem. Because when you see yet for Allah and yet for the creation, you think that yet for the creation, you know that, and you apply that same meaning to Allah, but you just saying, I don't know how, and that is the mistake. Yet in relation to Allah has nothing to do with yet related to created things at all. Not in meaning, not in no way. The word in language is used for an attribute of Allah and an attribute of the creation, and it doesn't mean the same thing at all. There is no how to figure out, right? There is no, it really exists, and it is like this, but not like this. That doesn't make sense. It is the yet of Allah, and its meaning is nothing like anything in creation. Zero. No way, no how, no type. Do you understand? Only the word is the same, and the meanings are completely different, right? So let me give you an example, and I'm going to give you. So when you say yad of Allah, you don't mean a limb. You don't mean an organ. You don't mean width. You don't mean length. You don't mean location. You don't mean time. All of these created things for the word yet, when it's applied to Allah, are negated. Do you understand that? Is that clear? Likewise with istiwa, likewise with ayn, likewise with nuzul, all of that, none of the meanings that apply to created things can be applied to Allah. And there is no similitude. If you got that, you have Tawheed. That's the point. Is this clear? Do everyone understand this? It's not complicated. It's very easy to understand. Just open your mind. That's it. Right? Just open your mind. And I agree with you, but you only can say that, and that statement only means that when you leave everything in the Arabic language and stop. That only makes sense when you talk about Allah. You leave it in Arabic, you don't add anything, you don't take away anything, full stop. You don't imagine in your mind nothing about Allah. You know Allah is completely different. And the creation is everything other than Allah. And you can't imagine Allah. And you can't, that's your belief. And that's a good thing. You can't push that on the Wahhabiyya. They don't believe that. They disagree with you totally. What you're saying, they don't believe it at all. You can't push that on them because you like them and you want them to believe that. They don't believe it. Period. They don't believe that at all. To them, what you're talking about is negating the law's attributes. That's it. That's their belief. You can't change their belief. No matter how much you like them, no matter how much you want to be friends with them, you can't change their creed. You can't. They're not going to allow you. They believe what you don't believe. And you have to accept that. That's life, right? That's life. Listen, I would love that some of my Sunni brothers were not racist. I would love that. I would love that they saw black people like they see themselves, but they don't. It's nothing I can do about it except tell them it's wrong. I would love to them to see African Americans just like they see themselves. That would be nice. In fact, I would like them to be Sufi and see African Americans better than themselves. But that's not reality. And I can't force my desire on reality. I have to deal with reality. That's not it. That's not it. It's real. I can't do nothing about it. No matter how I feel, at the end of the day, in deep in their practice, in their belief, we niggas. I can't do nothing about that. Except not let them treat me like that. But how they feel, ain't nothing I can do about it. I wish it wasn't the case. But they continually, over and over, show me that's the case. And they are Ahl Sunnah. They are Sunni. I got it. They're Ash'ari, Shafi'i, Sufi, but racist. What can I do about it? I hate it. It disturbs me to my core, but it's life. It's part of life. It's a test from Allah. We got to deal with it. So we'll talk about it later. Rebuilding the mirror, we can kick it on the phone. But I appreciate the engagement. But we got to sit down. We got to do real studying. We got to sit down and open up some books and do some real stuff, right? This is not going to work. This is microwave Islam. It can give us some ideas, but ultimately we got to sit down and we got to open up books and we got to point out stuffs and you got to learn a little bit more. We got to help you with some different stuff. Like you got to you got to go to the next level for you to fully understand. It's some knowledge that got to be added. And it's fine. We brothers, we can do that. It's not a big deal. Right? But you can't study by yourself. You need help because you don't have access. Somebody got to give you the key to let you in the door and show you some stuff. Right? You can't do it by yourself. You need help. And there's nothing wrong. We need help. We all need help. Right? Don't suspend your intellect. That's one big thing. And don't be afraid to learn. And you're not, but I'm just saying as a general, don't be a lot of us are afraid to discover the truth. We don't want it. That's how black people stay in subjugation. They don't want to know the truth. I don't want to know, that this is real. It's real. It's real. It is. It's like that. Deal with it. Fix it. All right. We went way overboard, but these things are important. I think they're very important. I think we benefit from them, even though we took more time than we needed. But it's extremely important, and you can get an understanding of what we need to do. It's not about our egos, man. It's not about winning. It's not about who won. Man, we losing. Even if I win and we lose, we lost. It's not about winning. It's not. It's about us moving forward as a people, because that's always missed at the end of the day. Like, really, it hurts. At the end of the day, we got a lot of work to do. Seriously, man. This is generational stuff. It's a lot of work, man. This stuff is not something that's light. It's not something we can overlook. You know? It's deep. Because we're looking at one aspect of it. But this stuff affects our whole life, our very existence. This stuff has an effect on it. We cannot be silent. We cannot just dismiss it. Let's not talk about it. That's not going to work. Not with all we dealing with. Not with all we got to confront. Because this is just one stage of it. We still have so much more to go. But if we don't get this part right, the other stuff is going to be more difficult. If we don't get our belief in Islamic understanding right, we're shot. We're dead in the water. Right? So that's going to take discussion and research and dialogue and love. Listen, and love. I want to share something. I'll close with this. But I want to share something. It's bothering me, right? I watch Africa a lot, right? And you should study Africa, right? Because it can relate to us as African Americans, right? And those who suffer similar, even among our Latino counterparts, right? But they don't have it as bad as African Americans, because the Latinos, they stick together. They do have a culture because they have land, right? African Americans have lost land. And when you lose land, it's easy to lose culture, right? I want you to follow this. The Latinos still have land. They got places they could go, that they are in charge. Africans have land. They got places they could go where they're in charge. Europeans got land. They got places they could go, they're in charge. Arabs have land. They got places they can go where they're in charge. African Americans don't have land. So we have no place to have culture. Whoever owns the land, whoever's the dominant culture of the land, becomes the culture of the people who inhabit that land. Do you understand that? So we're in a unique situation. We haven't been able to establish our own culture because it's not our land that we control. Follow something I'm saying here. This is my analogy. You can disagree. I'm just telling you what I see. So when you look at, and I'm speaking of Africa, the Wahhabi doctrine came into Africa. Even though it's there, the Africans are running it and their culture is still protected. Right? So they have the Wahhabi doctrine floating around Africa. But the African, because it's their land and their culture and their people, it looks different. They won't allow a Saudi culture to dominate their land. They won't allow it. No. So they have their doctrine. Likewise, when other Sunnis come into Africa, they have to come through the Africans. They cannot set up shop and rule over the Africans. They won't allow it. They can teach them. They can share with them. But the Africans maintain control. But when you talk about the Black African American community, everyone comes in and just overruns us, and we lose control. And this is deep. They don't respect our culture. They don't respect, they just overrun you. And then we end up serving them, not ourselves. And then when they're done with us, we're done and we're back at square one again. That's something we got to change. And it has been consistent in our communities. And we have to fix that. We have to empower ourselves. So everyone who tells you it's not about race is a liar. It is about race. And study the world, you will see race is very significant in how people move and control. It is. It exists. Don't believe that. That's a lie. Because they'll tell you there's no race issue while they exalt their race and put yours down. They will exalt their race, improve their culture and nationality, and destroy yours. Seriously. And this is something we have to admit. And it's happened to us through Sunni Islam coming from other directions without giving us the full understanding of the religion and how to contextualize it within our reality. They give us a culture that is their culture and an understanding that is their understanding, not the knowledge itself. It's painted so that we become like them. It's not just the religion as it is. It has a context that makes them superior and us inferior. And even if they don't explicitly say it, their state says it loud. There is a such thing called lisan al-hal, the way your state is speaking. You don't have to say anything. All you can do is watch what you're doing, and that's speaking loud enough. But the problem is us, we don't watch what people are doing. All right, I'm out of here. You see how many deep issues we got to tackle? So today's Monday. Tonight, we're going to have, I'm going to, inshallah, I'm going to put Sheikh Waleed on the spot tonight. I love him. And because I love him, I'm going to put him on the fire tonight. We're going to have a real talk about racism in Islam tonight. We're not going to avoid it. Tonight, we're going to have a real discussion on racism in Islam. I run the platform, so I have to set the agenda, right? We're going to have a real talk. Real talk. A real talk. Because sometimes you may think that I just talk to you. No. I talk to my teachers too about this issue. I don't hide. No. I talk to my teachers about this issue. I don't hide. Because it's a real issue. And if we can't be honest, we're never going to get anywhere. Honesty is painful, you know. Honesty is painful. It's painful. Real honesty is painful. And change is painful. But it must be done. If you want to heal, you got to take your medicine. Even if it's bitter. even if it's bitter. قُلِ الْحَقِّ وَلَوْ كَانَ مُرًّا. Speak the truth, even if it's bitter. But when it comes to speaking truth, a lot of us run from it. We're afraid to deal with the truth. We find every way to get away from the truth while we act like we people of truth. Let's deal with it. It's real. Let's deal with it. Since we're discussing our deen, let's discuss our deen. And we don't got to attack each other. We just got to be real with each other. We just got to be honest. Because it is a part of our religion, isn't it? We live it. We feel it. We taste it. We experience it. We know it. Why we avoid it? Why we try to move away from reality? We know it exists. We're dealing with it. We see it. We're not blind. Let's deal with it. Everybody want to run from the truth, acting like we people of the truth when we see what's going on. And we know it. We live it. Nah. Not when we got children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren we're trying to raise in Islam. We can't let them walk around with rose-colored glasses. Heck no. No. While everyone else building, we're destroyed. No. We don't accept. So that's my discussion tonight. That's what we have an open discussion. And you're allowed to join in. A real discussion. Because it's something we all know. Barakallahu bikum. I'll see you tonight at, I think, 7 o'clock. Yeah, it's at 7 o'clock, I think. Inshallah. See, y'all started. See, rebuilding Amir. You see what you started? But let us learn to love one another. Let us learn to love one another. Let us learn to love one another. Barakallahu bikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.